distant chisels tapping stone, low hum of cicadas. Hey there. Tonight, we're slipping away from the glow of your screen and trudging into the golden, brutal world of ancient Egypt. Not as a pharaoh, not as a priest with sweet temple wine and incense-scented robes. Number, you're a worker, a real one of the thousands of laborers who, around 2600 BCE, found themselves face to face with what would become the most mind-boggling megastructure on Earth, the Great Pyramid of Giza. And let me tell you something they definitely didn't teach you in school. You didn't sign up for this. You didn't wake up one morning and think, you know what would be fun? Dragging 2-ton limestone blocks across burning sand for 15 years. You were likely conscripted, maybe volunteered out of desperation. Maybe your village got asked to send men. And every single day you asked yourself the same question. Why are we even doing this? And can I just go home? Over the next 35 chapters, you won't just hear about the pyramids, you'll live them. So, lie back. Close your eyes to the glow of your monitor. Let's go back in time. Dim the lights. Tonight, you're building a mountain, in the desert, with rocks, and no cranes. Let's begin. You wake up to the sound of a wooden stick striking a clay jar, your foreman's signal. The sun hasn't even cleared the low dunes yet, but already the air tastes like baked copper. You rub the grit from your eyes, sit up on your reed mat, and sigh. Around you, dozens of other workers stir in the half-light. Your tunic is rough linen, patched in 3 places. Your feet are wrapped in worn leather strips because sandals fall apart too fast in the desert. You've been here for 6 weeks. The pyramid looms in the distance, just a square base so far, but already taller than anything you've ever seen. You eat a handful of barley porridge, barely enough to keep your knees from knocking. Today, like every day, you'll haul limestone blocks from the quarry to the growing structure. There are no wheels, no pulleys, just brute strength, wooden sledges, and a lot of cursing under your breath. You glance at the horizon. The heat hasn't arrived yet, but it will. And when it does, it will feel like walking into an open oven wearing a wool blanket. You wonder how long you can keep this up. You wonder if anyone's ever asked to leave. You wonder if they'd even let you. The path to the quarry winds through dried riverbeds and jagged limestone outcrops. The air is already thick, and the sun is climbing fast. You're harnessed to a wooden sledge with 4 other men. Your shoulders already ache from yesterday. The block on the sled is enormous. Smooth-sided, heavy, and barely balanced. Every few steps, you slip in the loose gravel. The foreman shouts behind you, cracking his switch against a rock to keep tempo. You don't dare stop. There are rumors that workers who lag too much get reassigned to the clay pits, or worse, the open desert watch. You wipe sweat from your brow and try not to think about how many more trips like this you'll have to make. One of the younger boys stumbles, and you reach out to steady him before he falls under the sledge. He nods silently, eyes wide. You've all heard the stories. People don't die often, but injuries are common. Broken ankles, heat stroke, dehydration. You've seen men carried back on stretchers made of palm fronds. You wonder if today is the day you'll see someone not come back at all. But there's no time to dwell. The pyramid waits. Every block you pull brings it closer to completion, even if you can't yet imagine what complete even looks like. All you know is that the pharaoh is watching, somehow, always. The path to the limestone quarry isn't smooth, not even close. You trudge over cracked, sun-baked earth littered with sharp stones that bite into your soles no matter how tightly you wrap the leather strips. The sledge groans under the weight of the limestone block, smooth-faced but unforgiving. 4 of you are harnessed to it, muscles already trembling before you've gone 50 paces. The sun climbs fast, turning the sky from hazy blue to a blazing white. There's no shade out here, not really. Just the occasional jagged rock casting a sliver of darkness too small to bother with. Your tunic clings to your back, soaked through within minutes. One of the men, a Menamhat, mutters something about the gods being angry today. You don't answer. What's there to say? The foreman walks behind us, cracking his palm switch against his leg in rhythm, like a metronome of misery. Every time you slip or stumble, he glares. You've seen him yell before. Once, he made a man carry double rations for a week as punishment for slowing down. You keep your head down and focus on the rhythm. Left foot, right foot, pull. Left foot, right foot, pull. It's mindless, brutal, and strangely meditative in its agony. You wonder how long your shoulders can take this. You wonder if your hands will ever stop blistering. But mostly, you wonder if the pyramid will still be here long after you're gone. Probably. You sigh and tighten your grip on the rope. The storm hit without warning. One moment, the air was thick and dry. The next, the sky darkened like a slate slab, and the wind howled down from the north like a living thing. You barely had time to drop the ropes before the first gust blasted sand into your face. The world turned yellow-white. You dropped to your knees instinctively, covering your head with your arms as the storm roared overhead. The sledge tipped over, sending limestone scraping across the ground. Someone screamed. A young worker, maybe 15, caught in the open. You crawled toward him, shielding your eyes just enough to see. The foreman was nowhere to be seen. No one was giving orders. Just the chaos of flapping linen, flying sand, and the terrifying roar of the storm. You found the boy half buried under a fold of his own tunic. He wasn't hurt, just terrified. You pulled him close, pressing your backs together as the wind tried to tear you apart. The air smelled electric, like stone and sky colliding. When it finally passed, after what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, the world was eerily quiet. The sun peeked back through a washed clean sky, and everything was covered in a fine layer of glittering dust. The pyramid, usually so solid in the distance, looked softened, almost ghostly. You helped the boy to his feet. His lips were cracked, eyes wide. No one spoke much after that. Some gods, you thought, don't warn you before they smack you down. Back at camp, the elders say the storm was a sign. Maybe from the gods. Maybe just the desert being the desert. Either way, work's been slower today. A few men are still coughing. One has a cut on his leg that's starting to swell. Nothing the healers can't manage with honey and crushed onions, though. You sit on your reed mat, finally able to breathe without sand grinding in your throat. Around you, workers eat sparingly. Barley paste, a few dates, and water that tastes faintly of copper. You chew slowly, staring at the horizon where the pyramid waits. It doesn't look any closer, even though you've been dragging stones for weeks. The heat doesn't let up, even after the storm. If anything, the air feels heavier now, like it's holding its breath. You've started noticing things you didn't before. The way the wind carves patterns into the sand. The sound limestone makes when it rubs against limestone. The quiet prayers some men murmur under their breath as they pass the shrine near the tents. You haven't prayed in years, not since your mother died. But today you find yourself tracing the crude amulet around your neck without thinking. The one your little sister gave you before you left. You wonder if she's still alive, if she thinks about you. Probably not. Out here, you're just another man hauling rocks. But for a moment, just a flicker, you wonder if the pyramid means something more than just stone and sweat. Then the foreman shouts and you're up again, shoulders already aching in anticipation. They brought in a new worker today. Young, too young really. Couldn't be more than 15. His name's Ranifer, though he stutters when he says it. He's from a village upriver, and this is his first time away from home. He looks around like he expects the pyramid to start talking. You almost laugh, but you remember being that age, thinking you were ready for anything. Spoiler, you weren't. The foreman puts him on a team with 2 seasoned men and you. Learn fast, he growls and walks off. Ranifer's hands shake as he ties his leather straps. You show him how to wrap his feet, how to lean into the pull without hurting his back. He nods eagerly, eyes wide. By midday, he's already sweating through his tunic, but he hasn't complained once. You glance at him every now and then. There's something hopeful about him, like he still believes this all means something. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, you find yourself talking to him more than you expected, telling him to pace himself, to drink water before he's thirsty, to watch the older workers for rhythm. He listens like you're sharing secrets from the gods themselves. By the end of the day, his shoulders are raw, but he's still smiling. Somehow that makes dragging the next stone just a little easier. There's a festival today. Not the kind with music and dancing in the streets of Memphis, but something smaller. Something the workers earned after hauling double loads for 10 days straight. The priests came out. Actual priests, not just the usual shrine watchers, and brought beer. Real beer. Not the watered-down swill the quartermaster usually hands out. It's warm and flat, but after weeks of dust and sweat, it tastes like the nectar of the gods. You sit cross-legged in a loose circle with a dozen other men, passing a clay jug around. Laughter bubbles up, rare and precious. Someone starts singing a song about the Nile, and even the foreman cracks a smile as he sips from his own cup. For a few hours, you aren't just laborers. You're men, fathers, brothers. You tell stories, some true, some exaggerated, and for the first time in weeks, you don't think about the pyramid, or the heat, or the blisters. You think about home, about the smell of bread baking in the morning, about your sister's laugh, about the way the river sparkles in the sunlight. It's a strange feeling, being happy in the middle of all this, like a brief flicker of light in a very long tunnel. You know it won't last. Tomorrow the work will resume. The stones will call again. But for now, just for now, you let yourself smile. You raise your cup in a toast, not to the pharaoh, not to the gods, but to the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still hauling. And somehow, that's enough. The work resumes, but something feels off. Your muscles, usually sore but predictable, ache in strange places today. Your lower back burns like you slept on stones, and your hands, calloused as they are, feel raw again. Maybe it's the beer from yesterday. Maybe it's just the relentless grind. Either way, you're moving slower, and the foreman notices. He doesn't shout, not right away, but the way he watches you is sharper, like he's waiting for you to slip. You don't, not today, but just barely. Ranifer, the young one, tries to help by taking a longer pull on the rope, but you wave him off. He's still new. Let him save his strength. You've learned the hard way that the pyramid doesn't forgive mistakes, not the kind that come from exhaustion. The limestone block you're hauling today has a crack along one edge. You can feel it shift under the ropes. Dangerous. One wrong angle and it could split. maybe even crush a foot. You adjust your grip carefully, keeping your shoulders aligned, your steps measured. It's exhausting, but you do it anyway. No one else seems to notice the crack. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're too tired to see it, but you do. Because if that block goes wrong, it's not just a delay. It's blood. Maybe yours. The sun climbs higher, and the air shimmers like a mirage. You keep your head down and focus on the rhythm. Left, right, pull, breathe. Somehow you make it through the day without incident. Just barely. As you collapse onto your mat that evening, you realize something small but heavy. Survival here isn't about strength alone. It's about noticing the cracks before they break you. They've started polishing the outer casing stones. Up close, you can see how different they are. Smoother, whiter, almost glowing in the sunlight. These aren't just rocks, they're statements. The best limestone carried from Tura miles downriver. You've never touched one before today. The surface is cool and perfect, like it was shaped by the gods themselves. You're assigned to the alignment crew now, not hauling but guiding. It's considered a step up. Less brute force, more precision. You're given a rope and a long wooden lever, and you spend the day ensuring each casing block is level, flush, and perfectly angled. It's oddly quiet compared to the usual chaos of the quarry. No grunts, no curses. Just the scrape of stone on stone and the occasional grunt of effort. One wrong move, though, and the whole block could tilt, wasting days of work. You find yourself moving slower, more deliberately. The other aligners are older, their hands steady, their eyes sharp. They don't talk much, but they nod at you when you get it right. For the first time, you feel a flicker of pride. Not big, not loud, but it's there. You're not just dragging rocks anymore. You're helping shape the face of the pyramid, the part everyone will see. The part that will shine like a jewel in the sun when it's done. You glance at the horizon, where the pyramid is slowly transforming. It's no longer just a mountain of stone. It's starting to look like something meant to last forever. A man died today. Not in a dramatic way. No falling stones, no beasts in the desert, just stopped. One moment he was hauling, grunting under the weight like always, and the next he collapsed. Just like that. No cry, no final word. The medics say it was the heat, maybe dehydration. Maybe his heart just gave out. They're calling it the God's choice, which is just a nice way of saying we don't know. They carried him back to camp on a stretcher of palm fronds, his face covered with a cloth. No one talked much after that. Not because we didn't care, but because we did. Too much. You sat with Ranifer during the evening meal, and he asked if it was going to happen to you. You told him no. Not today. Maybe not ever. But the truth? You don't know. Nobody does. The priests came by later, murmuring prayers over the body before it was wrapped and taken away. Probably to be buried in the workers' cemetery, somewhere beyond the dunes. You didn't go. You stayed back, staring at your food, barely tasting it. You thought about your family, about whether they'd even know if something happened to you, about how easy it would be to just lie down and not get up. But then you thought about the boy, Ranifer, about the way he looks at you like you're something solid in all this madness. So you ate, slowly, and you lived. Another day, another stone, another breath. They say the Pharaoh watches. Not in person, obviously. He's busy being divine, and probably gold-plated somewhere. But his spirit, his Ka, is here. Always. Watching, guiding, judging. You don't know if you believe it, but you feel it sometimes. Like when the ropes pull just right, or when the stones align without effort. Like the pyramid itself remembers why it's being built. Most of the older workers talk about it like it's fact. They say the pharaoh's tomb must be perfect, because if it's not, his soul can't ascend, can't join the gods, can't live forever. You don't know much about gods, but you know about effort, about getting it right when it matters. So you work a little steadier, a little straighter, not because you fear the pharaoh, but because you respect the idea that someone believed this was worth dying for. Maybe it was vanity, maybe it was faith, maybe it was both. Either way, you find yourself placing each stone a little more carefully, not just for the paycheck or the promise of beer, but for the quiet idea that you're part of something bigger, something that might outlast you, that might matter, even if only in stories told by children thousands of years from now. You laugh at the thought, then you get back to work. Someone has to. It rains. Not a lot, just enough to turn the dust into mud and make everyone stop in confused shock. Rain in the desert isn't unheard of, but it's rare, strange, and sudden, like the sky decided to change its mind halfway through the day. You're standing in the middle of it, water dripping down your face, feeling oddly cleansed. The mud sucks at your feet, making every step heavier. But no one's hauling today. The foreman calls for a break until the ground firms up. You sit under a makeshift shelter with Ranifer and a few others, sharing a piece of flatbread someone managed to save. The rain pelts the linen tents above us, drumming like distant war drums. For a moment, everything feels quiet, peaceful even. The pyramid glistens under the gray sky, its base already massive, its top still a skeleton of rough stone. You wonder if the rain bothers the gods, or if they're smiling down at us, finally giving us a break. You laugh at the thought, but there's something about the sound of water hitting stone that feels right, like the world is reminding you it's alive, that this isn't just dust and death, it's life. Fleeting, fragile, but real. You lean back against the tent pole, letting the cool droplets soak your hair, and for the first time in weeks, you close your eyes without dreading tomorrow. The pyramid is halfway there. Not officially, not by the priest's measurements, but you can feel it. The base is massive, solid, and stretching wide across the plateau. The upper layers are rising, block by block, into the sky. You've been here since the beginning. Dragging, hauling, aligning, surviving. And now, finally, you can see its shape emerging from the dust. It's no longer just a dream or a command. It's real, massive, almost unbelievable. You stand there with the others after the midday meal, wiping sweat from your brow and just looking. No one speaks at first. What is there to say? Some of the men bow their heads. Others stare in silence. You feel small beneath it, insignificant, and yet connected. Like every blister, every pulled muscle, every dropped stone has led to this moment. The foreman walks past without yelling, for once. Maybe even he feels it. Ranifer nudges you and whispers, "We did that." You almost laugh. "We're doing that," you correct him, but the truth lingers in your chest. You're part of something enormous, something that will outlast empires, that will be sung about, feared, worshipped. And right now, under the wide blue sky, you feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Pride. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that stays with you when the work is done and the stars come out. The heat doesn't just rise anymore, it boils. By mid-morning, the air shimmers like a mirage, and the sun hangs in the sky like a white-hot coin pressed against your skull. You've felt heat before, sure, but this is different. This is the kind of heat that makes your thoughts slow, your movements sluggish, your mouth dry no matter how much water you drink. The foreman has shortened the work shifts, but it doesn't help much. You're still dragging blocks, still sweating through your tunic, still counting the minutes until the sun dips behind the western cliffs. Ranifer looks like he's about to melt. His face is flushed, his steps unsteady. You slow your pace just enough to let him keep up, even if it means the ropes pull harder on your shoulders. You've learned the hard way that pushing too hard in this heat can mean collapsing before sundown. One of the older workers, Naboo, went down yesterday, just crumpled beside the path like an empty sack. They say he'll live, but he won't be back for weeks, maybe never. You glance at the pyramid in the distance, its peak now catching the worst of the sun's glare. It looks impossibly far away, even though you've been working on it for months. The thought crosses your mind. Maybe they should stop, just for a season. But you know they won't. The pharaoh's tomb isn't optional, it's eternal. And so are you, apparently, as long as your legs hold out. You take another pull on the rope, grit your teeth, and keep moving, one step, then another. The heat will break eventually, won't it? They brought in palm fiber roofing for the worst of the sun. It's not much, just woven mats stretched over wooden frames, but it helps. Enough to carve out small shaded areas where you can rest between hauls without baking under the open sky. You collapse onto one of the mats the moment you're allowed, your body sinking into the cool sand beneath. Your shoulders burn. Your hands throb. You haven't felt this tired in weeks. Around you, other workers doze, their faces half buried in their arms, breathing heavily. Some are chewing on dates, others just staring blankly into the distance. Ranifer lies beside you, already asleep, his chest rising and falling quickly. You envy him, that easy collapse into rest. You close your eyes for just a moment, and the world narrows down to the sound of wind through the palm fronds, the distant scrape of chisels, and the soft murmurs of prayers being offered upwind. For once, no one's yelling. No one's rushing. It's almost peaceful. The shade feels like a small blessing, one of the few the gods have seen fit to give you lately. You wonder if the pharaoh knows how hard you're working for him, if he cares, or if he's already up there, watching from some golden hall, sipping wine while you bake out here in the dirt. Probably. But you don't dwell on it. Not today. Today, you're just a man. A tired, thirsty, mosquitoes-bitten man trying to steal a few moments of rest before the sun demands more of you. And for now, that's enough. A fight broke out. Not surprising, really. Tempers are short when the heat's this bad and the rations feel this small. It started over water. A cracked jug spilled before everyone got their share. One man accused another of taking more than his portion. Words were exchanged, then fists. You didn't see it start, but you heard the commotion and turned just in time to see two workers rolling in the dirt, trading punches amidst a crowd of jeering onlookers. The foreman stormed over, switch raised, and broke it up quick, sending one man to the infirmary tent and the other to dig latrines for a week. Typical punishment. You don't blame them, really. The pressure's been building for weeks. The kind that doesn't come from the stones, but from the silence, the endless routine, the not knowing if it's all worth it. You felt the urge to lash out yourself more than once, usually at no one in particular, just at the heat, the thirst, the weight of it all. But you don't. You've learned to breathe through it, to let the anger pass like the heat haze on the sand. Still, As you sit there eating your evening ration of barley paste, you can't help but wonder how much longer this can go on, how much more the men can take, how much more you can take. Around you, the quarries are quiet again, for now, but the tension lingers, like the smell of sweat and dust after a storm, waiting, watching, ready to boil over again the moment someone says the wrong thing. You found a scarab beetle today. A real one, small, greenish gold, crawling across the hot stone near the edge of the quarry. You stopped mid-pull just to watch it. For a moment, nothing else mattered. The heat, the ropes, the stones. Just that tiny beetle, moving with purpose across the unforgiving surface, like it owned the place. You don't know why it struck you so much. Maybe because it was alive in a place that felt so dead. Maybe because it was small and fragile, and yet utterly determined to keep going. You gently moved a rock out of its way, and watched as it disappeared into a tiny crack in the stone. You stood there for a moment longer, staring at the spot, feeling absurdly hopeful. It's stupid, you know, hoping for meaning in a beetle, but sometimes that's all you've got. Later, as you're hauling another block, you catch yourself glancing at the ground more often, not expecting more beetles exactly, just looking, noticing, remembering that even here, in the middle of endless labor, there's life. Small, strange, and surprising. It doesn't change the work, doesn't make the stones lighter, but it reminds you that you're not just surviving. You're witnessing, watching the world hold on, one tiny moment at a time. And maybe, if you're lucky, that's enough. A priest visited the worksite today. Not just any priest, an actual high-ranking one, with a staff adorned with lapis lazuli and a voice like rolling thunder. He walked among us like we were something more than just laborers, like we mattered. He spoke of Ma'at, of balance, of the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife, and how our work ensured his safe passage. He said the pyramid was a bridge between the earth and the stars, between life and eternity. Some workers nodded solemnly, others rolled their eyes. You weren't sure what to feel. Part of you wanted to scoff. It's just a tomb, after all, rocks stacked on rocks. But another part of you, the part that's been dragging stones through the heat and the dust and the silence, felt something stir, a stirring you couldn't explain. As he walked past, he looked at you, really looked, and for a heartbeat you felt seen, not as a slave, not as a worker, but as part of something vast, something sacred maybe, or maybe just something that needed doing. He didn't stay long, but his words hung in the air long after he was gone, and as you bent back to your ropes, you found yourself pulling a little steadier, a little straighter, not because of fear, or duty, or even belief, but because for the first time you understood that even the smallest stone has its place, and maybe, so do you. Renefer got hurt. Not badly, just a sprained ankle from slipping on wet stone after a rare evening rain, but enough to keep him off the ropes for a few days. You helped him back to camp, half carrying his weight at one point, and sat with him while the healer wrapped it tight with linen and herb-soaked cloth. He winced, but didn't complain. You told him he was lucky. He nodded, but you could tell he hated sitting still, hated missing even a single day of work. You remember feeling the same way, like if you stopped, even for a moment, the whole thing might collapse without you. But now, you're not so sure. Maybe the pyramid doesn't need any one person. Maybe it needs all of you, together. You stayed with him until the sun dipped low, swapping stories about home, about your sisters, about the food you miss. He asked you again if you thought the pharaoh would really watch over us when it was done. You told him you didn't know, but maybe it didn't matter. Maybe what mattered was that you were here, that you were trying, that you hadn't given up. And for now, that was enough. The casing stones are almost halfway up. From a distance, the pyramid is starting to gleam, like a jewel half buried in the sand. The smooth white limestone catches the sunlight in a way the rough inner blocks never could. It almost doesn't look real, like something painted onto the horizon. You've spent the last few days helping guide the final few layers into place, and the difference is startling. Each block has to be flawless. No gaps, no tilts, no imperfections. The pressure's higher now, but so is the pride. You can see it in the faces of the older workers, the ones who've been here since the beginning. Their shoulders are more bent, their hands more scarred, but their eyes shine with a kind of quiet triumph. You feel it too, not loudly, not boastfully, but deep down where it matters. This isn't just a pile of rocks anymore. It's a monument, a legacy, something that will outlast you, your children, maybe even your grandchildren. You stand back at the end of the day and look up at it. The smooth slope, the glimmering sides, the sheer scale of it all. And for the first time, you whisper under your breath, "We're really doing it." No one hears you, but it doesn't matter, because you know the wind has changed. It's subtle, but you notice it. The way the air moves differently across your skin, cooler in the mornings, carrying a faint scent of damp earth from somewhere far off. The season is shifting. The heat hasn't let up completely, but there's a promise in the breeze, a hint that the worst might soon be behind you. The workers talk about it in low voices as they eat their morning barley. Some say the gods are listening. Others just hope the cooler days mean fewer heat stroke cases. You don't talk much. You're too busy watching the pyramid. The casing stones now climb halfway to the sky, smooth and gleaming like polished bone. From a distance, it almost doesn't look real. More like a painting etched into the horizon than a structure built by human hands. You've helped place some of those stones. You know the sweat, the strain, the near misses that went into every one. And yet, from here, it looks effortless, eternal. You wonder if that's the point, not just to build something grand, but to make it look like it always belonged there, like the gods themselves laid every block. You run a hand along your worn linen tunic, feeling the grit of limestone dust embedded in the fabric. Your shoulders ache, your hands are scarred, but you stand a little taller as you watch the morning light catch the pyramid's surface. For the first time in a long while, you feel a flicker of something like hope. Maybe we're not just surviving this, you think. Maybe we're actually creating something that matters. They've started removing some of the ramps. Not all of them. There's still work to be done at the upper levels. But the lower wooden ramps, the ones you use to haul the heaviest blocks from the ground, are coming down. It feels strange, like watching a ladder being pulled away before you've quite reached the top. The foreman says it's a good sign, that we're nearing the final stages. But you can't help feeling exposed. Without the ramps, the work feels more precarious, more delicate. Everything's higher now. Every block has to be lifted with more care, placed with more precision. There's no room for error. One slip and a stone could tumble hundreds of cubits, crushing everything below. You've been assigned to the upper teams now. Smaller groups, more skilled workers. It's less brute strength, more finesse. You're using wooden levers and stone wedges to adjust the placement of the final casing stones. It's quieter up here too. Less chaos, more concentration. The wind carries the sound of chisels and the occasional shout. but for the most part, it's just you and the stone. And the sky, which oddly enough feels closer these days. You glance upward often, half expecting to see the gods watching, though you'd never admit it out loud. You're not sure what comes next, but you can feel it approaching. The end. Or at least the beginning of the end. And something about that thought both terrifies and comforts you. Renefer's back. His ankles healed enough for light work, and the healers finally let him return, though not to the ropes. They've put him on stone sorting duty, which is better than nothing. He's thrilled just to be back among the living, grinning ear to ear as he carries smaller limestone fragments to the chiselers. You watch him for a moment, admiring his enthusiasm. He's been through hell these past months, but he hasn't broken. Neither have you, though sometimes it feels like you're just barely holding on. You walk over and clap him on the shoulder, and he nearly drops the stone in surprise. "I missed you, you old goat," you tell him, and he laughs. A real laugh, not the tired kind. It's the first time in weeks you've heard someone laugh like that, like they actually mean it. You spend the next hour helping him sort stones, showing him which ones are smooth enough for the chiselers and which ones need to be discarded. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest, and for a moment, it feels like old times, like the two of you are just two guys doing a job, not cogs in some massive eternal machine. You glance up at the pyramid again, its peak now catching the late afternoon sun. It's almost there, and somehow with Renefer back and the end in sight, it feels a little more human. The priests are back. This time they're not just preaching, they're blessing the pyramid. You can feel it in the air before they arrive. A hush, a stillness as if the desert itself is holding its breath. They walk in a long line, dressed in pure white, carrying staffs adorned with gold and lapis. One of them, an older man with a voice like rolling stone, raises his arms and calls out to the gods, Horus, Ra, Osiris, praying for protection, for balance, for the pharaoh's safe passage into eternity. The workers stand in silence, heads bowed, some clutching amulets. You're not sure what you believe, but you bow your head anyway. There's something powerful about the moment. The way the light catches the priests' robes, the way their words hang in the air like smoke. For a moment, it feels like the pyramid isn't just stone. It's alive, sacred, a bridge between worlds. When the blessing is done, the priests walk the perimeter, sprinkling water mixed with natron and incense. You watch as the droplets catch the sunlight, sparkling like tiny stars. And for the first time in a long while, you feel small, not insignificant, just part of something much larger than yourself, something that began long before you arrived and will continue long after you're gone. You stand there a moment longer, letting the silence settle over you. Then you pick up your rope and get back to work, because that's what you do. You carry on. The final casing stone is almost ready. It's been polished for weeks, smoothed to a flawless sheen that catches the light like glass. They say the pharaoh himself will see it before the pyramid is complete, that he'll climb to the top somehow and bless it with his own hands. You don't know if that's true, but the stone has been treated like royalty. It's been carried with care, blessed by priests, and positioned with rituals you've never seen before. Today, it's your team's job to place it. The last one, the capstone of the entire structure. Your hands tremble slightly as you guide the ropes, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. This isn't just another block. This is the finish line, the culmination of years of labor, sweat, blood, and silence. The other workers are quiet too, their faces grim but focused. The foreman doesn't yell, doesn't need to. Everyone knows what's at stake. You feel the stone rise slowly, inch by inch, until it hovers at the pyramid's peak. And then, with a final heave, it slides into place. Perfectly, flawlessly. The workers around you let out a collective breath you didn't realize you were holding. Someone cheers. Someone else claps a hand on your shoulder. You don't say much. Just stand there, staring up at the gleaming white tip of the pyramid, now complete, for the first time. It looks exactly like it was meant to. Eternal, untouchable, miraculous. And you helped build it. The pyramid is quiet now. Quieter than it's been in months. Most of the heavy hauling is done. The core structure is complete, its rough inner layers stacked high and solid. A mountain of limestone rooted deep into the bedrock. What remains is the finishing, the fine work, the details. The kind of work that doesn't make your arms burn quite as much, but still demands your full attention. You've been assigned to the surface crews, smoothing the outer blocks, checking for imperfections, making sure every seam is flush, every angle true. It's meticulous, frustrating even. One finger's width out of place and the priests will send you back to redo it. But there's a strange kind of peace in it too. No more dragging 2-ton blocks through the sand. No more fighting the ropes or the heat, or your own crumbling resolve. Just you, a chisel, and a block that has to be perfect. The sun is still fierce, but it doesn't feel as cruel now. Maybe because you know the end is near. Maybe because you've earned a moment of stillness. You run your fingers along the stone, feeling for rough patches, your calloused fingertips catching on the smallest flaws. Around you, other workers do the same, some in silence, others humming softly under their breath. The pyramid no longer looks like a work in progress. It looks like what it was always meant to be. A monument, a legacy, a mountain built by hands that refused to give up. And for the first time, you can truly see it, not as a taskmaster, but as something real, something finished, or almost. Renefer found a bird's nest. Not up high in the pyramid, thank the gods, but in a crack near the base of one of the older storage tents. He came running up to you, eyes wide, cradling a tiny, featherless thing in his hands. "It fell out," he said, like that explained everything. You took a look. The nest was small, messy, made of straw and bits of fabric. The chick, weakly, its tiny mouth opening like a pink flower. You didn't know much about birds, but you figured it wouldn't last long without its mother. Still, Renefer wouldn't hear of leaving it. He fashioned a little bed from his extra tunic and placed the chick inside, feeding it crumbs of flatbread soaked in water. You watched him for a while, half amused, half impressed. The kid's got a soft heart, you think, not something you see much of out here. You helped him rig a shaded spot near the edge of the camp, away from the workers and the heat. By evening, the chick had eaten something, and Renefer was beaming like he'd just built the pyramid himself. You smiled too. It's the little things, you guess, the unexpected moments, the fragile lives that find a way to survive even in the middle of all this stone and sweat. Maybe that's what the pyramid is in the end. Not just a tomb, but a testament to survival, to persistence, to the tiny, stubborn miracles that keep us going one day at a time. The nights are cooler now. Not cold, never that, but cool enough that you can sleep without waking up drenched in your own sweat. You lie on your reed mat, the stars stretched out above you like scattered salt, and for the first time in months, you feel almost comfortable. The work is still hard, still relentless, but there's a rhythm to it now, a predictability that lets you breathe. The pyramid is almost done. You can feel it in the way the foreman walks with less scowl, in the way the younger workers joke a little louder, in the way you find yourself humming under your breath as you walk to the site each morning. The end is in sight. And that thought, strange as it is, brings both relief and sorrow. Because once it's done, what then? You've spent years of your life hauling stone, scraping by, surviving. You've given sweat, blood, and silence to something you barely understand. And now, it's almost finished. You stare at the stars and wonder what comes next. Will they let you go home? Will you even want to? Or will you stay, like so many others, bound to the work, to the rhythm, to the life you've built in the shadow of the pyramid? You don't have the answers. But for now, you let the cool night air wrap around you, the stars shine above you, and the weight of the day lift just enough to let you sleep. Just for a little while. They've started painting the inner chambers. That's what the rumors say, anyway. Bright colors, turquoise, gold, malachite green, being brushed onto the walls deep within the pyramid. Rooms for the pharaoh's spirit, for his journey. You haven't seen them yourself. Only the priests and the most trusted artisans are allowed inside, but the air hums with talk of it. Something about ensuring the pharaoh's ka finds its way to the afterlife, about protecting him from evil spirits, about making sure he's not alone. You don't know much about the afterlife, but you know about loneliness, about the kind that settles into your bones after months of silence and sweat. Maybe that's why they're painting those walls, to keep the darkness away, to make the pharaoh feel like he's still part of the living world, even after he's gone. You sit with Renefer during lunch, chewing on a date and listening to the older workers debate what the chambers might look like. Gold statues, hidden traps, boats for the river of the dead. You don't say much, but you think about it. About what it means to be remembered, to have a place, even a hidden one, carved just for you. Maybe that's why we're all here, you think. Not just for the pharaoh, but for each other. For the chance to be part of something that lasts, even if we're not the ones who get to rest inside. The final week has begun. You can feel it in the air. The tension, the focus, the unspoken understanding that soon it will all be over. The foreman moves quietly now, his usual shouts replaced by short, deliberate commands. The ropes are still in use, but only for the lightest stones. Most of the work is delicate, aligning the last casing blocks, sealing joints with gypsum mortar, double-checking every angle. It's the kind of work that demands patience, and surprisingly, you find you have some to give. Your arms still ache, your back still protests every movement, but there's a strange clarity to the days, a sense that every action matters, that every stone you touch is part of the final piece. You find yourself working alongside some of the same men you started with, men who, like you, have endured heat, thirst, exhaustion, and doubt, and somehow you've made it, together. You glance at the pyramid often, now fully crowned with its gleaming white casing. It's no longer a symbol of dread or duty. It's a monument to survival, to persistence, to the quiet, unyielding will of people who refused to give up. As the sun sets on another day, you stand at the edge of the plateau and look up at the finished peak. It glows softly in the fading light, and for the first time, you allow yourself to believe that maybe, just maybe, you were part of something greater than yourself. They held a ceremony. Nothing too grand. No golden chariots or processions of dancers. but a ceremony nonetheless. The priests came out in their finest robes, chanting and burning incense as they walked the perimeter of the pyramid. Offerings were laid at the base: food, drink, small statues of gods, and protective amulets. You didn't understand all the words, but you felt the weight of the moment. The pharaoh's spirit, they said, would soon descend to this sacred place. His journey to the afterlife would begin here. The pyramid, they called it Akhet Khufu, strangers, the horizon of Khufu, a bridge between worlds, a monument to eternity. You stood near the back of the crowd, Renefer beside you, both of you silent as the priests circled the structure, their voices rising and falling like wind through reeds. For the first time, you didn't feel like an outsider to all of this. You felt included, part of something that mattered, not because of who you were, but because of what you'd done. You'd carried the stones. You'd survived the heat. You'd kept going when giving up would have been easier. And now, the pyramid stood as proof of that. As the chants faded and the priests withdrew, you found yourself lingering for a moment longer, your hand resting lightly on the cool, smooth stone. You whispered something under your breath, a name, a thanks, a hope. No one heard, but it didn't matter, because the pyramid heard. And so did you. The work camps are breaking down, tents are being folded, tools stored, rations packed. The foreman has already assigned some of the men to other sites, smaller pyramids, temples, causeways. But not you. Not yet. For now, you've been given a few days of rest, a rare thing. You sit on a reed mat near the edge of the plateau, watching as the last of the workers dismantle the remaining ramps and storage shelters. The pyramid stands untouched, perfect, eternal. Already, it looks like it's always been there, like it rose from the earth on its own, untouched by human hands. You wonder if anyone will remember the work, the sweat, the pain, the nights spent wondering if you'd make it through. Probably not. But that's okay. You don't need a statue. You don't need your name carved into stone. Just knowing it's there, that you helped build something that will outlast empires, is enough. Renefer sits beside you, quiet, his feet swinging lazily over the edge of the dune. He asks what you'll do next. You shrug. Rest, you say. Then see what's next. He nods, like that's the wisest thing he's ever heard. And maybe it is. For now, you're content to sit in the shade, feel the breeze on your face, and watch the pyramid stand tall against the sky. You earned this moment, and it's beautiful. You're leaving tomorrow. The thought settles in your chest like a stone, heavy but not unpleasant. There's a cart waiting to take you and a few others back to Memphis, where you'll be given your final rations and sent on your way. You've said your goodbyes to most of the men. Some you'll remember, others you already forget. But Ranfer's staying. He's been assigned to the next site, helping build another monument, smaller but still grand. He grins when he tells you, proudly, proud as can be. You tell him to stay safe, to keep his shoulders straight and his water close. He nods, but you can see the excitement in his eyes. Good, you think. Let him have this. Let him carry the torch, even if just for a while. As for you, you're not sure what comes next. Maybe another site, maybe home, maybe just a quiet life by the river, away from ropes and ramps and endless stone. Whatever it is, you feel ready. The pyramid has changed you, though you can't quite say how. You're not the same man who arrived all those months ago, blistered and broken, and unsure. You're stronger, wiser, and maybe, just maybe, a little prouder than you have any right to be. You lie on your mat tonight, staring at the stars, and for the first time in a long time, you feel at peace. You sit on a small rise overlooking the pyramid one last time. The sun is setting, casting long golden rays across its smooth, gleaming surface. The white casing stones glow like fire, and for a moment it feels like the pyramid is alive, breathing, watching, remembering. You've come back to this spot just to say goodbye properly. No one else is around, just you, the sand, the sky, and the mountain you helped build. You think about the blisters, the heat, the near misses, the nights you wanted to quit. And then you think about the friendships, the pride, the moments of quiet triumph, the scarab beetle, the bird chick, the way the pyramid rose block by block until it touched the heavens. You smile, just a little. You almost didn't make it, but you did. And not just you, we did. All of us. Together. The pyramid isn't just stone. It's memory. It's survival. It's proof that even in the hardest of times, when the world feels like it's made of sand and sweat, you can still build something that lasts. You take a deep breath, the cool evening air filling your lungs, and you whisper, "Thank you." Not to the gods, not to the pharaoh, but to yourself, to the you that kept going, that didn't give up. And as the stars begin to appear above the horizon, you stand, brush the sand from your knees, and start the walk back to camp. Tomorrow you leave, but tonight, you just watch and let the pyramid shine. And so you lived. You survived. You built a mountain in the desert with your bare hands, your aching back, and your unshakable will. The pyramid still stands, and so does your story. Sleep well, traveler. Tomorrow the sun will rise, just like it did for them. Good night. Renefer found a bird's nest. Not up high in the pyramid, thank the gods, but in a crack near the base of one of the older storage tents. He came running up to you, eyes wide, cradling a tiny, featherless thing in his hands. "It fell out," he said, like that explained everything. You took a look. The nest was small, messy, made of straw and bits of fabric. The chick, weakly, its tiny mouth opening like a pink flower. You didn't know much about birds, but you figured it wouldn't last long without its mother. Still, Renefer wouldn't hear of leaving it. He fashioned a little bed from his extra tunic and placed the chick inside, feeding it crumbs of flatbread soaked in water. You watched him for a while, half amused, half impressed. The kid's got a soft heart, you think, not something you see much of out here. You helped him rig a shaded spot near the edge of the camp, away from the workers and the heat. By evening, the chick had eaten something, and Renefer was beaming like he'd just built the pyramid himself. You smiled too. It's the little things, you guess, the unexpected moments, the fragile lives that find a way to survive even in the middle of all this stone and sweat. Maybe that's what the pyramid is in the end. Not just a tomb, but a testament to survival, to persistence, to the tiny, stubborn miracles that keep us going one day at a time.